All right, welcome back to the Good Leader Podcast. I'm your host, John Martinez, with my other host, Dr. Dave Miller, here at the Gain Station Gym. This is the first podcast of the new year, and we're going to be talking about why is the new year so hard for people. I'm going to go put that intro. So some of the things that we want to talk about is just why does January basically January kind of removes distraction and exposes realities, and Dave works here at the gym. So I guess we wanted to kind of see what is the problem with people lack consistency, and why do they think that the first of the year is like some magical day for them that's going to somehow change everything they've been doing the entire rest of the year.
I can't really nail down why they think that that's the magical mark because it always seems to be if they set some kind of New Year's resolution, then it just kind of still gets kicked down the road a little bit. It's like be the first of the year, and there's like, you know what, it's still New Year's tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's still New Year's the next day. It's still and so they just kind of move the goalposts here and there. And I think the start of a new year a lot of times though can highlight where maybe you were unprepared the year before.
Yeah.
Some of the marks that you missed.
Yeah.
And so it ends up it's somewhat of an arbitrary marker, that somehow we've all adopted.
Yeah.
But you get to reflect back on say, man, I didn't have it together.
Yeah.
For these many things. How am I going to get it together this year?
And I almost wonder if that works the opposite effect. If you say you didn't have a good year and you reflect back on the year, does that make you more motivated, or I want to say motivated, I guess that'll be the word, to want to now have a good year, or does it make you sad and depressed that you had a bad year? I think some people, I think depends on how they look at it. I think sometimes they cannot have a good year, look back at it, and instead of it like encouraging them to go forward, they're just like, well, I had a bad year and I'm starting off the year bad. And it kind of, I wonder that sometimes if it works for that some people, or they say, are they going with good intentions, but then it just goes right back to what they were originally doing.
I think a lot of what compounds that is usually how the year culminates at the end. Mm-hmm. Because you got like a lot of holidays squeezed in, and there's a lot of running around, and then it ends up being a lot of, spending money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you almost end up, you hit New Year's, you go out to like a party or whatever, you wake up hungover. It's like you just ran into the new year like it was a brick fucking wall, And so then you're like, man, now what? I got $10,000 in credit card debt for everything I spent on freaking, Christmas. I didn't hit the gym at all. I'm now 15 pounds overweight, so I'm starting from behind, and so then it becomes like a scramble. How am I going to get out of this ditch?
That's what it's funny, because one of the points I put was when the holiday dopamine ends, does that like either make you feel better, or is it more pressure? Because I think, like you said, you kind of, I think, go into something where it's like, yeah, you're having all these holidays, but everyone takes holidays differently. I see some people where they're like, oh, I enjoyed the holidays, and you can tell some people just didn't.
Yeah.
It's just I've met people where they're just like, well, I'm just going to go home, and whether, I don't know if they're not in a relationship or they don't really with their relationship with their family, but where the holiday is not like a good period of time for them. So it almost is like, because it's for, if you think about it, maybe starting in October, Halloween, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas and the New Year, it's a significant amount of time where maybe they're just like not in a good place.
Right. Well, I mean, it can also kind of happen, because people get sold kind of like the whole, Norman Rockwell picture of like the holidays, as a family all gathered around, everything,
Where's my family?
Everybody's getting along and jolly and all that sort of stuff. When like in reality, it's like, you're looking at your family, it's like, I don't even like half of you. Why am I sitting here at the table? So yeah, they go with what is planted in their head as like an image of how things are supposed to go.
Yeah.
Rather than actually even like planning ahead to try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, and that's what I put that as example. A holiday, the dopamine ends, and then what happens after that, and then the bills. You touched on that, which is a good thing, and it's also the financial strain of like, okay, say you didn't make a lot of money, or you got to still get everyone presents, and and that's also because I mean some people they don't really care, but some people do care. They might be like feel a certain way if they're not able to get everyone things that they wanted, and that could be internal pressure that they just feel on themselves. And then the other point that I had put was for some people, nothing changes but the date. Like they don't think holidays are important, so it just becomes one day, after the next. And it's kind of I think for me, why I think I appreciate holidays because I think from the military and law enforcement perspective, because I missed so many holidays at times or had to go work, I learned to be like, just being off for the holidays to me, like, oh, this is cool, this is chill. Because I remember I specifically remember us times being at work, we would run into people during the holidays and they looked miserable. And then we would be looking at each other like, why are you upset? Like, we're working, you're not working, you're with your family, but you look more upset than us. And then we just realized like it's a perspective thing, you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes we would, and people know this probably worked on nights, like sometimes you would get up in the morning, spend Christmas with your kids, and then immediately, you have to go to work that day. Or sometimes you had to work at night, and you get up in the morning or during the day, and you miss the whole morning part of it, and then you come home later, and everyone's there. You miss certain things, and so I feel like it makes you appreciate them more. But maybe some people just don't. Maybe they haven't had that experience, or maybe they just don't care.
I can go along with that because I remember, for a period of time, I was going, through some stuff or whatever, to where I was just kind of like numb to the things around me, and it was, it's like you kind of lost, just kind of like meaning in things. Yeah. And then you actually get to a point where that starts coming back, then you actually kind of realize what like the purpose of like say my holidays are, and and you start to try to reinvest in that. Mm-hmm. And it was also like say when I was I started really getting back into the meaning of things right about the time I rolled into prison. And so
when the holiday spirit came to you.
I mean, it was really when I started. I mean, I was starting to get back right with God again and all that sort of stuff. And it's just some of the habits that I kind of had really built up over the years, still kind of continued, which then got me sent away, but I was in the right frame of mind with that too, and so it's like I was becoming more invested in what was actually like important, and so spending that time away too, then you do end up like appreciating. It's like, man, even the family I don't fucking like, man, I wish they were here right now, and stuff like that. It's just so I could just see them, it wouldn't have to be anything special, just hey, Merry Christmas, or what have you, and when you don't have that. You can end up appreciating it more.
Yeah, that's I think I missed for some reason always Thanksgiving more than Christmases and New Year's is always Thanksgiving. So now when I get to spend the holidays for Thanksgiving, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I mean, it's like you said, it's not always perfect, but I remember, and the good thing is in the military, sometimes you're spending Thanksgivings with each other, just random people that you either know or don't know for a long time, or someone else's house, and you're just kind of like, well, at least I got somewhere to go. And everyone's always pretty good about that, about inviting you over to do stuff like that. It's always different than your own family, but I think that helps when people kind of reach out if they see someone that doesn't have family. And I've done that before and told people, hey, you want to come spend Thanksgiving with us? Some people will do it and some people don't. And I think sometimes when they don't, I think it's more, sometimes I don't want to say it's not a pride thing. I think sometimes they feel like they're intruding, or you know what I mean? But they don't realize like, well, you're kind of like, it's not always good to be by yourselves during the holidays. And that's why we used to always see like that big tick in like mental health issues or suicides or domestic violence during the holidays. Because everyone's, I think if you're not in a good place, it just like you said, starts compounding, and the holidays don't make it better for you sometimes. So if you definitely, it's I guess it's where you're at in life. I guess that's where the holidays meet you.
And sometimes the hustle and bustle, I mean, it can actually kick you out of the mode of just like appreciating what you have, even like the little things.
Yeah.
I'll relate to you one thing this past holiday season. I mean, the one thing that really made my Christmas was there's a family that comes into the gym here, and I've known them like over the years. I mean, they were in here when this was Headstrong, before it was Gain Station and all that. And so they had asked me out of nowhere if on Christmas Eve, I would go to their church with them for a Christmas service.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was just that small little thing, they came out of nowhere, and they were like, man, it really mean a lot if you came to church with us. And it was like that one little thing actually just made the whole Christmas for me. It's like I didn't have to have anything else, even though I did have other family, however sparse they may be these days, that is something that seemingly small can be so huge when it's just an effort that's put out. It's not like it's not a gift bought, or wrapped or anything like that, but it's just like, hey, just come and spend some time with us.
It's like an act of kindness, like people without nothing, you know what I mean? It's more like, hey, we don't have to do this. And so I think it means more when they don't have to do it. They could just not say anything, but it's like you appreciate it more. Yeah.
And there's a bit of that where it's like you do get like hit with the wave of realization. It's like, this is actually what the holiday is all about.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
So.
They need to invite Brandon to church, that deviant.
Right. I think they throw him out before they ever got it. His Bible's catching on fire and stuff like that as he approaches. Yeah.
All right. And then the next topic I was going to touch on was calm as a weapon. And basically, how do you deal with work stress after time off, family tension post-holidays, and emotional reactions versus controlled decisions? And I think where this comes from is when I was thinking about this kind of topic is sometimes, when you're coming off of vacation and you're going back to work, I even felt that a little bit like today and yesterday where I had been off for almost like 2 weeks. And then you have to get back into like doing the routine. And you're like, dang, I don't really it's not like you lose the desire to do it. It's just like now you got used to doing something that, you know what I mean? You're kind of like, but you realize, I guess that's what makes you appreciate vacation because you're working hard, and then you go back to work, and then you have to get back on that schedule again. And
right.
So it's kind of just one of those things, like where does being like how do you deal with it in a calm way? Do you deal with it? Some people get over back like I don't want to be at work. I don't really. I guess for me, when people say like I hate work, I guess to me that doesn't make sense. Because it's kind of like, why are you going to spend your life doing something that you hate to do? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I can see maybe it's not convenient for you sometimes, but I feel like when people say that, it's almost, what do they say? You think it, you're saying it, you hear it. So you just hate being where you're at.
You're basically manifesting your own situation.
Yeah, they kind of create that where now they just create like angst for being at work, and now they don't want to be there, and it's not like they're not on vacation. But then if they're on vacation, it's like you hear about people all the time, like when they retire, then they get bored. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so you kind of have to, I guess, appreciate the both things. They both bring value in different ways, your work and your time off.
Yeah. Well, I think a key thing about you just attacking work, I mean, you have to find ways to be able to make it yours. The work you do, you somehow own. I mean, this is your time that you're actually trading. Yeah. For compensation, all this. You have to somehow be able to make it yours. To where it actually fits you. Yep. A lot of people don't know how to do that anymore. They don't know how to really apply their strengths to what they're doing. What makes it worse, I mean, I suppose you can find yourself in a situation where you're in an environment where they don't allow that. And then
work monkey.
Then it becomes uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I go to what you said about calm as like a weapon.
Yeah.
Now when I think about that, I think about like say a long like Metcon workout here at the gym. A good way to think about it is slow is smooth is fast. So it's rather than just having to burn yourself out, whatever. I mean, you just kind of roll into it.
Yeah.
Take it as it comes. Take it at a pace. You'll find your pace. Usually it'll pick up to a sustainable rate. And then you're not stressing yourself out. I mean, if you try to just like run into like, hectic, it's some kind of mad rush, you're going to wear yourself out way too fast.
That's what kind of seems like we were talking about earlier about, that's where I heard that term, the analysis paralysis. Where you're just kind of overthinking something. And I've seen people do that where they're not even doing it, but they're analyzing it so much that it's like they feel like they're doing it and they feel that pressure and they feel that weight and they don't know how to calm themselves. And that's why I agree. Like, the reason like being like calm is a weapon is because I think the more, not that you don't have to be don't feel emotions, but you need to learn to control your emotions. I mean, we see that like all over the news, all over a lot of these things that are happening. Just logical, being logical thought just goes out of the window, and it's like, let's all be slaves to our emotions, which doesn't lead to anything good. That's why one of my questions I had for us is, why do people mistake calm for weakness? And where has staying calm saved you from a bad decision? And I think the calm for weakness is, sometimes I think people will look at, I think with men, right, as us sometimes not being always like super emotional, it's like, oh, you don't have emotion, but it's not really that. It's like men know that emotions lead to bad, like too emotional leads to bad decisions, and lack of emotion leads to being, kind of like not being able to build like relationships with people. So for us, it's more of how, I guess, that's what's instilled in us to kind of find that balance.
There's a proper use of emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're all applicable, in anything that you ever do. But yeah, it is a balance trying to figure out exactly how to use it to your advantage. And so the calm comes into, to being able to take like a step back.
Yeah.
Once you realize, you're just getting hit in the face with something, it's like, okay, I got to take like a different approach,
The pepper spray hurts my eyes.
Yeah, so there's got to be a better way to handle this, And so that's the calm as a weapon. I mean, you could get a better look at things as they're coming at you. You'd be able to think a lot clearer and be able to manage it.
Yeah. Has staying calm ever saved you from a bad decision?
Oh, many times, many times. Yeah, I could think of many dates I didn't go on because those I sat and thought about. I was like, yeah, this would have been bad.
Yeah.
And then I definitely calm has helped in some of the more of the stress-riddled kind of situations I've been in. Like I said, my time in prison.
Yeah.
Getting overheated is just going to cause errors.
Yeah.
It's unforced errors too. So it's.
Well, I think that was funny because what me and Dave were talking about earlier. Because I noticed what me and Dave get. Like, if you ever notice, I think anyone who's been in law enforcement, sometimes you can meet people that, in the military, law enforcement, or even from the jail environment, that kind of have similar personality traits,
yes.
right? Because I think that's part of it. Part of it is that you're in environments where you can't be overly emotional. Like, you can have emotion. Like, you see something, it could be very like traumatic to most people, but you learn to like make good decisions still, keep your calm. And those are all in those environments, the military, the jail, being in law enforcement. So it's like a weird like line that goes with every, like that kind of cuts across all of that stuff. And I think me and you, that's what we were kind of talking about. Like, we don't, I think, see the same stress when people are kind of saying, oh, this is stressing us out. Just looking at, I don't get that for certain things, like with some people talking about social media or things like that. I don't feel that, and it's not because I don't see what they're seeing. It's just because I don't try to let it get to me in that way. You know what I mean?
I think one of the defining kind of characteristics of what you're talking about is whether you take so many things personal.
Yeah. Does it apply to you? If it doesn't apply to you,
if you can divest that from, I mean, that's a big thing in running a business.
Yeah.
Managing a business. I mean, you've got to remove the taking personal part from just about everything. Mm-hmm. It's like you can care, to immense levels, but it's not about you, and so you take that away, and then it's like you have like a more objective view of what you're trying to accomplish, and how other people are going to fit into that scheme,
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's why me and you always get along. About we think certain things are funny that other people are like, oh, that doesn't make you upset. It's like not really, because it doesn't apply to me. And to me, I feel like the more personal sometimes you take things, the more maybe you think it applies to you. Or it's like when someone thinks someone posts something and like they're talking about me, like like really,
yeah.
Unless they told, like, to me, I'm like, unless you're gonna tell me that it doesn't apply to me, you know what I mean? Like, unless you tell me in person. Or
I mean, if you're getting offended 9 times out of 10, that indicates that it does apply to you. It's like, oh, so it's true.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
good,
that's kind of more. Yeah, they kind of, and that goes back to the whole thinking, how your perception of something.
Right.
Okay, then I was going to talk about discipline over motivation, and why motivation fades and discipline carries you. And I guess especially because we're doing the podcast at Game Station Gym in the Atascadero, and we get to see the gym crowds versus the February reality, when it starts coming in. And me, I saw that even this last week when I was still on vacation. so during the week, the gym, it wasn't here, it was back home in Ventura, kind of like where the gym was busy every day. I had went like Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, ghost town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that already told me like the people that were still there on that Friday would probably continue to go to the gym, and the people that said I'm not going to go to the gym because it's Friday, they were probably not going to continue because they were already making a reason for why they couldn't go on that Friday, and that's kind of where it leads into eventually down the line, February, March timeframe when they start, fizzling out.
Well, motivation is all based on a feeling, man, and feelings can be fleeting. It can be easily affected by external, circumstances. Whereas discipline is just, hey, this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm going to do it. I've likened it to, I mean, it to kind of make it like a cartoon sort of form. I mean, you get those cartoons where the guy's got like the angel and the devil on his shoulder, and it's like it's weird because how it works out is like the devil kind of sidles up to you as like a friend and touches.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to get up early. You don't have to do as many reps. Yeah, you worked out enough this week. Whereas like the angels over here going, quit being a bitch.
Yeah, do that.
And as long as that one wins out, man, then you're good.
Yeah, and that's what I think people don't understand. Because, for myself and you who have gone to the gym and worked out, I think sometimes people think, like, there's not days where not like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to go. But I think that voice is never as loud as the voice that says, nope, I told myself I'm going to go. And that voice overwhelmingly always is the louder voice for us.
Yeah.
And where some people, it's the opposite. That voice that tells them not to work out is always a louder voice for them. And I think that just goes back to, again, just how their perception of how you look at things. Because for me, I tell people it's like going to the gym is part of my routine that helps me with a couple things, with stress, physical fitness, and gives me the energy to actually do the things that I need to do. For myself, I have some pretty long days, so I know if I didn't work out, that it would just, I don't know how I would do it if I wasn't like taking care of myself physically. I'd probably, you know what I mean? It would just end up burning out, not being able to keep up, and then it would just, it just rolls downhill from there.
That's why I like working out, at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
So I basically kind of start my day with it. Because after you get like that win, man, the rest of the day's got nothing for you. It could throw anything at you. It's like, I've already had worse.
And I can't remember who said it. I think I was talking to someone yesterday and they said it. But if you look at like our day, right, like we're like, I'm going to work out after this. But if you look at the day, what we've done, like, we've each worked out, we do our job. We're doing the podcast. We're taking time out to create and give. We're giving to ourselves. We're giving to our jobs. We're creating with the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that is like gives us that sense of like purpose and doing things where other people are just like, when I feel like a lot of people, I don't want to say that they're miserable, but it's Lucy. Lucy consists of the same thing. I went to work today. It sucked. My life sucks. You know what I mean? But then you're like, well, what are you doing besides going to work and moping about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not Lucy a lot of things. So a lot of it, depends on you, or what are your goals and what are you setting for yourself. That's what I put example as like big goals and no system, and quitting when it gets boring, which I think some people, which I don't know if you probably see that more because when people come to the gym, or if they're, I don't know what kind of excuses you get to hear, like, oh, it's like, because the gym is open 24/7, so there's no real time excuse they can say.
Right.
But I can imagine there's some things like, oh, well, I don't have, is anyone going to coach me, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I think sometimes even people will come in, they get intimidated because they feel like there's, maybe the room's black.
Yeah. Now, to be sure, I mean, there's always going to be like the times where, I mean, and I'll relate this kind of like in a divine sort of way. I mean, if something that's in your plan, is like, I'm going to go to the gym at this time or whatever, and if something just keeps getting thrown in your way or whatever, you just all of a sudden I got to deal with this, or all of a sudden I got to deal with this, all of a sudden I got to then that's actually kind of God telling you, just like, you know what, right this minute, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
It's like, I got something else for you, And you might want to listen to that, because it could be the type of thing where it's like, if I just ignore this and I head to the gym right now, I might get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Who the fucking knows?
Yeah.
But it's when you're doing the things to talk yourself out of something, that's when it's more important to double down and just do it.
Yeah.
You got to get out of that zone. You got to stop talking yourself out of it.
Yeah. Stop being your own like anti-cheerleader almost.
Don't go searching all the excuses why not. Find all the reasons why.
Yeah. So we're touching on what was it? Doing work when no one's watching. So I think just to kind of cut to the little bit ending part of it was fixing relationships off camera, and it's a weird trend that I've been noticing on Instagram lately. So I don't know. This is just me. I guess what would be your opinion, Dave, on it? I've seen women. I mean, I know guys do it too, but I've seen women like basically bashing like their exes all over, social media. And the reason I don't think that this and I'm saying that their ex didn't wrong them or they don't have valid points, but I don't think they maybe understand the way that they come across. It's almost like if you're willing to go into a public space and just like bash the other person with them not able to defend themselves or say their side of the story, I think it more looks bad on them than the person. I never look at those conversations and be like, man, she has a really good point about what she's saying. It more looks like, how long ago did you guys break up? Like how bitter are you?
Sounds like you did him a favor. Isn't that what they call tainting the jury pool? It's you've already created a court of public opinion. I can't even get a fair trial anymore.
Well, and that's where it goes back to the validation piece. It's kind of like I feel like when you're past something, if it really doesn't affect you, you're not looking for other people to tell you that, that's a good, that's a good or bad thing. It's like, I've had people that wrong me, and I'm pretty sure other people think that I wronged them, but if I'm not going to go online and be like, hey, let me tell you about this one time because I need you to tell me that it was all right.
I mean, if you're truly like in the right about something, or feel right about it, is, why do you have to rally people to your side? How much of a case do you really have to make? If you're good, all that sort of shit, man, just continue on.
Well, I also think it doesn't allow you to move on, because you're stuck in that, you're constantly reliving that process of not letting yourself heal. Like one of the things for myself, people have asked me like, hey, do you ever feel like you got like PTSD or trauma from things? And I said, I've never felt like that, but I think it's because I accept things, good or bad. I look at them and like, well, this is what happened. This is what it is. This is the way it worked out. And the only thing I can do is move forward from it, learn from it. Try to do better, but I can't sit there and be mad about everything. You know what I mean? I said, right. I haven't felt that way, like where something emotionally affected me since maybe I was in my like 18 to early 20s. And then when I see people still that are older still doing that, it kind of shows me like you kind of, you're missing the point of maybe what was going on. And I get it, sometimes people, and I guess this is where sometimes I look at it, especially when it comes to relationships, because even when marriages, everything is complicated. If all you can ever say is about what the other person did wrong and you can't say anything that you did wrong, then it's like what growth that came from that.
Right.
So it's like you're telling me, it's like Jennifer Lopez, I guess, for example, right? You've been married 5 times and you're telling me all those dudes were just bad?
right. You're the only common variable.
Yeah, you're the common denominator.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And I think, and so when that happens, it's like, well, maybe if you focus less on them and maybe what you weren't doing, what led to this, sometimes even what led to all that happening in the relationship, because there's usually contributing, factors. And I say this for girls and not in a negative way, because it's not like we're doing, what they call it, red pilling, just bashing them.
Right.
Like, I think it's more because it's like, sometimes I'm just like, does anyone tell you that you shouldn't, you don't need to put all that out there? You know what I mean? No. Like, it's like, hey, you went through something, I get it left an impact on you, but you're kind of chasing away maybe prospective people that are interested in you, and you're also putting out this negativity towards men that it also is going to make men, even if they're not interested, look at you like, nah, I'm cool. I need to,
right.
I can stay away from him. I'm
trying to cut back now.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, it's but that's also a form of non-accountability.
Yeah.
You understand, it's like, in a situation like that, in a relationship, I mean, there's more than one person involved. Mm-hmm. And so whatever the outcome is a dynamic between two people.
Yeah.
And you even if you want to throw fault aside, you just say, man, we just weren't right to be together.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it wasn't going to click. It was a freaking disaster from the beginning. hopefully everything will be better in the future. I move on, he moves on, all that sort of stuff. But then it's like, they're making fucking little voodoo dolls and shit like that. It's like they just want to like haunt the guy for the rest of his life.
I'll show him.
And the moment he starts doing good, it's like then they start popping back up in his life and try to ruin everything.
Yeah, and I explained to people, I said, there's no one that I've ever had a relationship with that I think anything bad about or wish anything bad about, and I hope the same for me. And I think that's how you grow, because you kind of sometimes realize when you look at certain relationships, things like, man, I could have done this better. I could have communicated better. I could have done this more. And you also see what you're contributing to it that maybe led it to that place. And then you get over like who was more at fault and who was less at fault. And maybe we're like, especially when you're younger, and that's what people, when they get, because sometimes people confuse dating with marriage. It's like, no, they're two different things. Yeah. And also that, hey, maybe you got married too young, and maybe that was a big contributing factor to what ultimately led it. Yeah, maybe certain things happen along the way that you may not like or did like, and the same, but vice versa. But the big part of it, maybe, hey, just a lack of experience and a lack of expectations of what you both were trying to get out of it, and it just didn't work out. And you don't have to walk away like, fuck that person. Right. I hate all men now.
Yeah, exactly. You get stuck on yesterday, man. You never focus on tomorrow.
Okay, and then just to kind of close out, I think some of the things we touched on: the calm over chaos, discipline over motivation, and the quiet work over the noise. As far as just sometimes keeping things to yourself, is there anything that you would say going into the new year that you think people should hold on to that's good, and some bad things maybe they should let go? I know from your kind of experience of.
Man, well, that's a good question, but I think that requires digging into maybe people's personal situations. But I mean, I think moving forward, it's always a good practice to really kind of know what you're staring at. And so when we talked about how like a year culminates, with like the hustle and bustle of the holidays and all that sort of stuff. Well, the thing is, here you are, beginning of January. Man, that's coming up again.
Yeah.
So at this point, what am I going to do to better prepare for it? So I'm not having to pay off credit cards, for the next couple of years down the road again, or I'm not rushing around, to get things done. How can I be prepared for it next time?
Yeah.
As I don't like how it turned out a freaking month ago. Mm-hmm. Everybody pissed me off. Let's try to mitigate that. Yep. So it's really it's all learning from the past to better move forward.
Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing, I guess, for us in this kind of wanting to make this episode for the new year. I think that is the kind of the point we're kind of trying to make is, does your past define you more, or do you define you more, like the person you're trying to be? And I think some people get too caught up in their own head about what's going on. They let past relationships have too much sway over who they are now. And I'm also a firm believer that you shouldn't use negativity as your motivation. Like, I'm going to show them. I saw this quote I thought it was cool. It said, instead of a revenge body, why don't you focus on a relationship body? Or why don't you focus on, you know what I mean? Like the building instead of the destroying, because I think it's easier to destroy things. So it's always harder to like actually build. And then I think you step away actually learning something, even if it didn't like work out the way you wanted. I think that's pretty much the whole point of the episode for us, is kind of tell people, like, why is New Year so hard for everybody? What makes it difficult? Because I think when me and you talk about it, we just kind of keep doing the same thing. Like, it doesn't stop for us. We look at ways to improve, like even working with Miguel doing the podcast, like, what can we do better? Let's try this setup. Can we get more guests? How can we line up our schedule more? I don't think we ever seem to be like, well, I'm sad we didn't get enough views this time, or like, oh, I want to do this. It doesn't have any, to me, I never even look at that shit, honestly. Yeah. I look at it like people, I would rather have genuine interest, and then that stuff is, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think the more we focus on a better product, then the better outcome we'll get. And we don't even worry, we don't even look at that stuff. And, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else want to close it out with. Any news from the gym? Is there any, are you guys doing any like New Year's stuff or anything like that? Like any, like come,
I mean, we don't have anything specific planned. I mean, we do have a blood drive coming up at
Yeah.
the end of the month on the 31st. But I'm trying to get some more kind of like community outreach and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to a guy who is at the local army base here, and we're going to try to work out like a routine, or maybe some kind of like a military workout competition.
Oh, okay.
And so he's talked to his commander,
Yeah.
and his PT specialist on the base, and
Yeah.
all that, and so we're going to try to work out something like that.
That'd be
I
cool.
think it would be a pretty good target to work at. It'd be a good collaboration, with
Yeah.
service members and stuff like that, because we like to honor
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. Time of the weenie, time of the military is over.
Right, exactly.
And then Dave wanted me to tell you guys a couple rules for the gym. One is take a shower. Don't be a stinky fuck to the gym. And then 2 was to rack your own weights.
Rack your own fucking weights.
Yeah, put your own weights. And no one's here. We're not your mom
Not
or
your
your dad
mother.
or your dad. And then, and what would say number 3? Then we had something else we talked about.
Wear deodorant,
Yeah.
for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, there it is. Yeah. No one's trying to see you rub fucking charcoal in your armpits because you don't want to hurt the environment. Throw some
Right.
Old Spice in that bitch.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go, right there.
Yeah. That's it. Those are all your professional gym tips.
Yeah, don't
Start off the year.
Don't smell like swamp ass. Put your fucking equipment back.
Yeah, here it is, and use deodorant. You can't go wrong.